Every sales leader on the planet is screaming the same thing right now. We need more leads. We need more pipeline. Push harder. What if the problem isn't your pipeline at all? What if the real issue is that you completely misunderstood how your customers actually make decisions? Today's guest doesn't do traditional sales hype. He's a self-described polymath who looks at revenue through the lens of decision science and buyer psychology. If you're tired of deals, stalling, and unpredictable revenue, you're going to want to stick around for the next 7 or 8 minutes with us and have a chat, have a listen. We're going to completely flip your strategy on its head. Welcome to Talent Thrives Here, the podcast where we unpack what drives growth, human behavior, and high performance. I'm your host, Lance Laforte, founder and CEO of Laforte Talent Group. We're an executive recruitment firm. We love headhunting for our clients across North America. Joining us today is Bob Britton, the CEO and founder of Revenue Generation Strategies. Bob, after that long intro, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lance. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Great. Tanner bluntly says your understanding is wrong. That's a little on the nose probably for some people, but you argue that the pipeline isn't the problem. It's your understanding of how customers decide. What in your mind, what is the single or near experience? What is the single biggest thing revenue teams are getting wrong about buyer psychology right now?
Lance, I think what it is that people are in the mode of the customer needs more information. What's happening really is that the customer is being inundated by information.
Right.
In the days of fear of missing out, when the PE firms and everybody was just throwing money like them, those days are pretty much gone. So now it's less about of missing out and more about what can I do to actually mitigate my risk.
Right.
So what most companies are doing is they're approaching this more as a matter of trying to educate the customer. But the thing that the customer really wants to know is, can I safely defend the decision that I'm about to make when I make this purchase and not get into trouble with it? Okay, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's the main thing that they're trying to do right now. It's less about features and benefits and ROI and stuff. Important, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
What they're doing is they're also at the same time trying to balance, how the heck do I do this without losing my shirt, because things are pretty tight right now. Okay.
I hear you. I've seen a lot with companies where I'd hate to be a CFO right now because there's been so much up and down in markets, right? And especially if you're dealing with supply chain and you've got costs of crossing borders, and it's almost impossible to figure out 3 quarters out what's happening, right? How do you forecast out and actually have a forecast that makes sense right now? So yeah, I hear you on that for sure. There's way more caution, right?
The trick really is to understand that coming into your meetings with your clients. The first thing first of all, what they're trying to do right up front these days is they're trying to disqualify you, not qualify you. So that's part of risk mitigation. Okay. A lot of companies still look at it as, hey, you have to prove yourself, but understand the questions that they're asking are not to validate that you can do what you do. It's a matter of they're really trying to find a way to not buy from you. Okay. But that's an entirely different approach when you're coming into this. And the way that you have to get around that is by increasing your EQ when you're selling and staying away from the IQ.
Fair enough. Yeah, I hear you. I spent most of my career, companies make critical hiring decisions, right? We spent yours helping companies understand how buyers make purchasing decisions. So when you look at the human psychology behind choosing a new executive versus, say, choosing a new B2B vendor, do you think those are similar processes or not?
To a degree. What we're talking about here is really the build, buy, or borrow problem, right? Do I build it internally? Do I buy it from somebody else, or do I lease it for a short period of time? So there are some similarities there, but really what you need to do is you need to evaluate it from a standpoint of, is it related to my strategy, and will it get me closer to where it is I actually want to be in terms of the customer? Remember that most companies, when they make these decisions that you're talking about here, internal or external, right? What they're doing is they're trying to determine from a financial standpoint what makes the most sense, but it's way more than that. It's actually more a matter of strategy. How do I say this? It's more a matter of strategy, capabilities, the future of the company, that type of thing. Now, there are some things that you can do where it's more, it's easier to simply outsource it. And the reason why you want to outsource it is because you don't have the time to right away.
But I mean, the question on that outsource part, like, because depending on what you're talking about, for many businesses where we have a division in India or China or Korea or somewhere doing some portion of manufacturing at one point we did it, and so tipping point, right? And I had huge arguments years ago about this because sometimes we'd send stuff to a vendor overseas and they wouldn't get it right the first time, maybe 60-70% on target, right? So we'd have to refit, retool, do something a little better, and eventually get closer. But there was still a throughput issue where we were rarely getting a one-for-one equation. So, as someone would say, well, it's 75% cheaper to do it in this country. And I said, no, it's not. Not by the time we have a finished product, because we've now retooled it like 3 or 4 times. So while I understand the actual dollar per hour is cheaper there, if we're doing it 3 times, we're closing the gap on the difference of where it's expensive, because the know-how and the tooling we had here, we had perfected, the 30, 40 years. And so there was no learning curve here. We would get it done right, properly, to spec the first time. So I find the curiosities in some industries where they put up with or just say, look, it's part of the process. This is how we do it, right? Yes, we fix it 3 times, but still the average cost is lower than doing it here. And these things sometimes, because I think I've had from an perspective where the employees would come to me and say, look, I can that quicker by Friday, but we have to wait because we have to send it overseas again, and we're waiting for them to, for employees to see that if we just kept it here, we'd get it done faster.
So what you're describing, though, is something that's very, very common. Internal facing problem that they see it as. So what they're not viewing it as is a external customer problem.
Right.
Okay, so you get to having to create value for the customer. By the way, when it comes to value, understand that value isn't defined by the person doing the manufacturing or selling. Value is defined by the customer. Okay.
Yeah.
So you all day long, I build value into X, Y, and Z. No, you don't. What you do is you create something, you present it, but it's up to the customer to decide whether or not there's value in it. The classic example of that is, the husband and wife in there. The husband might be popping the hood, looking at all the technical specs of the vehicle, gas mileage and stuff. All the woman cares about is how quickly can she get the kids in and out of the back of the car, and the cup holders, right? So
Right.
2 entirely different versions of value there. So we don't design value. We design a product, and the customer assigns their value to it. So what you need to do is you actually need to figure out, is what I'm doing when I'm hiring helping the customer actually see value? Or is it some sort of an internal function that's just going to affect my bottom line, not my top line?
Right. Right.
So, when it's to things that are affecting your bottom line, maybe accounting along those lines, right? Things that make things more efficient internally, those are things that are quite outsourceable. Okay.
Yeah.
When it's to things where you're dealing with a customer and the customer has to have some sort of a perception of value here, that's where you want people that can have the inside knowledge, understands the nuances of the company, and can really get a message across in a way that's what the customer wants. Okay. So those are the types of roles that you're hiring for, especially the customer facing roles, or where there's more of a direct impact on customer facing roles that you want to hire internally, as compared to just the mechanics of how the company runs. Those you can outsource.
Gotcha. Quick question too. What's an ideal client for you? Is it a small, mid-size? Is it larger? Where do you find in the market your services fit in really well?
Well, it wants to sell to a right, but the problem is that sometimes, especially when you're a solopreneur like I am, sell to to get on the preferred vendor list. There's all kinds of stuff that you have to go. I mean, it's going to be a real nightmare. Yeah. So what I do is I prefer to work with SMBs, typically somewhere in the 10 million to $500 million range. As long as they have a track record of revenue coming in and they have some patterns I can look at and diagnose, those are the kinds of customers I like to deal with. The other one is where they're at in some sort of inflection point. They're at 10 million, want to get to 20, 100 million, want to get to 200 million, whatever. But they have to be at an inflection point. And the customer themselves have to recognize that. The fact that what got them won't get them there. There's a book named that. But what got them here won't get them to where it is they actually want to be. And if, so long as they are to that kind of a discussion, those are the kinds of people that I actually gravitate toward and that will gravitate toward me.
Gotcha. Okay. And so I'm curious as to how you sort of implement what you do. A matter of looking at, balance sheets to start profit and loss. Do you look at, or is it strictly a sales venue side of the, where do you plug in and how do you plug in?
Yeah, so I really have a four-step process. I let medical technology do the heavy lifting for me. So what I do is it's a triage, diagnose, prescribe, and treat are the four stages that I do with people.
Right. Right.
So the first one, the triage, is just like it sounds. You're looking for the big problems. How do I stop any immediate bleeding?
Yep.
Are they positioned to actually kind of thing? And that can take actually get to the bottom of that. The second diagnosis phase, and by the way, that first part, the triage phase, can really be done for anybody from startups
Yep.
through enterprise. The second phase, diagnosis, is where you really do need to be a going concern. You need to have some sort of a track record behind you. Because then I'm going to be looking for patterns, data coming out of their ERPs, their CRMs. I'll do ride-alongs. I'll talk to their customers. I'll talk to their internal and folks, culture, to do focus groups. And I come up with basically an image of what the company's like, and I'll draft up a report for them and I'll say, this is what I'm seeing. Okay.
Yeah.
And when you connect those dots, what I end up with is an elephant. Now, the prescription phase is where we take that elephant drawing and we have the ugly baby conversations about what's your appetite for this
Sure.
for this elephant, right?
Sure.
Right, where you sit with the leadership and you say, okay, look, based upon what it is I'm seeing here, you do have an elephant, but you can't eat it all in one bite. So,
Yeah.
A, what's your appetite for this? B, do you have an appetite for where are we going to start? Are you going to start at the trunk, tail, ear? What's the best way with this? And we'll come up with a game plan moving forward. The last phase is the treatment, and that's where things change a little bit because as a consultant, you're supposed to consult, not do. So when they start saying, could you please do? That's when I say, okay, look, I'm happy to do good things for you. I can either give you the game plan that we designed together, we collaborated on, and here it is, and it's yours. Have a nice day. The second thing you can do is you can keep me on speed dial, and you can call me whenever it is that you have a question about things, and I'll help guide you through it. The third thing that you can do and bring me aboard is a fractional. And as a fractional, what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute the game plan that we have put together. I'm not going to do whatever it is you want me to do. I'm going to execute this plan. Yeah. That means I'll go in, I'll spin up the people, train them, hire whoever actually needs to replace me or other people when we actually get this whole thing rolling. And then 6 to 18 months later, I'm out the door. So those are my four phases and how I interact with people. It's not straight numbers. Absolutely not. A lot of it has to do with culture because as the saying goes, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So there's a lot of go into it that they won't get out of things like Chat GPT and other things. Sure. So, if you want to know how to do it, you go to Chat GPT. It'll get you 80% of the way there. If you want to know why, that's where you bring me in.
Yeah, no, I hear you exactly that. It's amazing. I was last night and a lot of young sales reps in the room, and I was I was telling old stories. I used to get information before LinkedIn and before the internet. Back in the day, all that we played to get names and dialing strategies, and they were shocked. But then one guy said, "Oh, I had some of those out of ChatGPT last night." There you go. But it was still, the human element is still, the relationship element is still there, and I think that's what I think. The difference that at the end of the day, talking to people every day, and you can't chat GPT, especially if you ride along or talking to somebody across the desk or something like that. You really have to. The life experience in the world really pays off, I think, at that point.
That's right. It really does.
Yeah. Well, look, Bob, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you for being on the show. To everyone listening, if you're tired of treating symptoms and want to start fixing the root causes in your business, connect with Bob Britton on LinkedIn or visit Revenue Growth Strategies. Is there any other way? Is that the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah. My website is rgs.consulting. No comma on the end of that. It's just rgs.consulting. Great. So there's that, or you can just reach out to me at bob@rgs.consulting, and either way is fine.
Excellent. Thanks again. Until next time, I'm Lance Lafort. Remember, alignment drives execution. Talent is where it all begins. This is Talent Thrives Here. I will see you next week. Thank you. Thanks again, Bob.